we're going to have plenty of time while the game loads. But blue team has banned out Jax, Vi, and Kale. I would say those are very good bans at the moment, and great bans on purple team too. LeBlanc, Twitch, and Braum. Very influential solo queue champions, so I really like the non-target bans, more traditional ones that we might normally see in solo queue. Then in terms of picks, they have a Fizz mid, a Renekton top, a Wukong jungle, and a Lucian Morgana bot lane. On the flip side, that's going to be facing a Ziggs mid, Nasus top, a Vayne Thresh bot lane, and an Elise jungle. All really powerful champions on both sides. Sorry, not Ziggs. Fizz is probably the weakest lineup of all of these champions. I'm also personally not a fan of Vayne in her current state. I don't see much reason to play her.
I think Vayne can still be potentially really strong, but you have to be really careful with her, and you can't be as aggressive or really trade bot lane if you're playing her.
Yeah, I mean, any AD carry, but her especially, has a good opportunity to outplay opponents and to be incredibly strong. But my question is, why play Vayne when you could play Lucian? Obviously, in this case, Lucian was picked. But similar idea, you have a better early game, you have a comparable mid game, and your late game is not exactly bad. It's a more reliable, safer pick. And I know I say that about a lot of champions, but it's true. If you're going to play solo queue, you need to ask yourself, am I picking this champion because I like playing the champion, or because it's the best, most reliable champion I could be using for this role, or for this matchup? And Vayne is usually, you're playing it because you're good at the champion and because you enjoy the champion. There's nothing to be ashamed about in doing that, but I still ask the question, maybe you might want to think of playing a different champion in the long term.
I think Vayne is kind of like what we said about Riven. If you're really good at Riven, play Riven. If you're a really good Vayne, play Vayne, but understand that they're safer picks.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly my opinion on it. And same thing with Fizz in his current state. If you're a really good Fizz player, you're going to snowball and you're going to be terrifying.
Yeah.
But the nerfs to Lich Bane and to just mid lane in general, he's less snowbally. He's less over the top.
So yeah, purple team really seems to be going for the late game domination here. If they lose early game really badly, that might not be able to happen because blue team is. I think blue team is pretty insta-gib. You know, with the Morgana snare, the Fizz fish, the Wukong ultimate. So if blue team can get into good situations, purple team is a little ruined, but. Haven't seen very many Elise jungles lately since her, I think, didn't they nerf her really badly?
They nerfed her a number of times, and she was still quite playable after that. Then Feral Flare came out, and everyone forgot about Elise. Sorry, someone was disagreeing with me in chat, being like, that's the stupidest advice ever. And I think you're misinterpreting our advice. My advice, or I'm not trying to put words into her mouth, but my advice was that play what you're good at, but try and be good at something that's reliable. Because in solo queue, you never know what you're going to end up being versus. And for me anyways, I'm not going to main 15 million different champions and have them all practice to a very, very high level. I'm going to play a couple champions I really enjoy and play them to a high level of success. So I'm not saying you shouldn't play Vayne. I'm saying only play Vayne if you're good at her.
No, especially Vayne in solo queue. Like, I used to play Vayne, and the issue is my Vayne isn't very bad, but she's very team reliant. And in solo queue, you have to be. It's gonna sound awful, but you're gonna have to be as little as team reliant as you can be. Just rely on yourself. You know what I mean? So like, if you have a bad support as a Vayne, you're gonna have a really hard time.
Yeah, it's all about reliability.
Whereas if you have a bad support as a Lucian, you can still do well.
Yeah, I mean, you're not necessarily going to win lane, but yes, you're going to be less team reliant in terms of positioning and escaping, especially with the slow removal on him. Like, honestly, that's one of the most disgusting things about Lucian to me, is you exhaust him, he dashes away, and all of a sudden he just walks away.
The slow's gone. Yeah, it's pretty dumb. Especially against someone like Nasus. That is such a good pick.
It really, really is. Someone's asking why isn't Morgana banned but is picked a lot. I believe it's because people want her left open so that they can counterpick, and because there are usually more important bans.
Yeah, Morgana is one of those champions where like she's strong, but she's not that strong. Like there are people who are much stronger.
It's the same reason that Thresh isn't permabanned. He's a stupidly strong support. But are you really going to ban Thresh every game, or are you going to worry about things like Jax, or things like Kale, or LeBlanc in certain situations, or certain junglers even? Right, I'm going to be just 2 seconds.
We see Wukong starting blue here. I really think he could go for the red, just with the help from bot lane. We also see Elise starting blue as well, which is, I mean, that's pretty standard on her side of the map. I'm going to be very curious to see how this Vayne and Thresh just play out bot lane. Because Vayne could just really just farm, like just do her best to farm. Or they could be aggressive. And with the Thresh, I just kind of wouldn't see why they wouldn't be aggressive.
And he did start Hook, so he's not going to be auto-attack harassing. He's going to be going for hard trades. And for that to work, I want to see them evening out the minion waves so they're not falling behind in experience. I want to see them rushing that level 2 so that they can use the Hook Flay combo and set up, if not a kill, free summoner skills for themselves.
Yeah, I'd really like more supports to auto attack waves because they don't like. I think a lot of people don't realize how much of a difference just pushing a lane in bot makes.
Yeah, hitting level 2 first bot lane is pretty much you just won the lane for the first few levels.
Yeah, especially with the Thresh and a Vayne with a Condemn. I mean, that's GG.
Up in top lane, not a whole lot happening. Both characters have enough sustain that the poke that they're getting onto each other, while significant, is mostly going to be mitigated by just surviving the lane. Renekton obviously has a much stronger early game, and so as a result, Nasus is just sort of forced in under turret and is going to be at risk here.
Elise is trying to help him out here, but he will be going down with the Ignite, but Elise will be getting the kill onto Renekton, and also down in mid lane, Ziggs getting a kill onto the fish. Not quite sure how that happened.
I'm actually going to rewind that because I want to see. I was actually going to comment originally that I wanted to see Ziggs starting with the Doran's Ring so that he could harass that much harder. Oh, so yeah, Fizz walks in to try and farm with his E? I don't know. So he just gets Q auto attack ignited. I don't know if he really needed to flash for that last auto attacks on Ziggs, but still great pickup for him.
I think that's the biggest problem with Ziggs is just that he's melee, and like in lane he can't like really rely on anything else for the creeps. Morgana taking so much damage from the tower, but Vayne also getting incredibly low.
It's also worth noting that the exhaust was used by Thresh in that fight. If you're able to keep track of summoner skills like that, you can set up huge plays. Just because, well, you're up an exhaust. And exhaust is, I don't want to say overpowered, because I say that about a lot of things, and it's not that I mean that they're necessarily broken. It's just there's such strong skills. And exhaust, yeah, it just instantly wins fights.
Also, up in top lane, we see Elise. This is the second time she's come top for Nasus in such a short amount of time. And I'd really like to point out that this is great for Nasus. Because normally, he would not be able to win this lane by himself, so that extra like jungler presence will do like great things for him.
Yeah, great roam coming mid as well. Not able to connect with the stun, but just making that presence felt in every lane that she can, and then immediately cycling back over to her farm. Ziggs is already winning this lane quite handedly, but having that Elise, I could still be in the bush sort of pressure is going to help.
And we haven't really seen any ganks from Wukong yet. I think Wukong is still a pretty strong like ganker, even without his ultimate.
He's become much more ultimate reliant now that he has lost most of the armor shred. Great bait coming in from Renekton. Ghost goes down from Nasus. I'm surprised that Wukong didn't flash auto. He definitely could have
Oh,
secured that.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. He could have.
As much as I'm usually not a fan of wasting flashes, it's usually because the flashes are wasted. When you have someone at 40, 50 health, and your Wukong with, how much damage does he have? 82 damage. Just flash auto. Boom. Free kill.
Yeah, if it's one auto attack, definitely use the flash for it. If it's like two or three, probably shouldn't. We see this Vayne. This is about the second time I've seen Vayne down in bot lane just take a snare like that.
It was a nice snare. I have to give some credit over to Butter, but yeah, you need to be not getting hit by those. The biggest counter to Morgana is just don't get hit by snares. And if you're not getting hit by snares, well, you've shut down most of her laning potential. She's still a safe pick.
I don't know if Thresh didn't have his hookup, but he really could have hooked for Elise a lot sooner and saved her the heart attack. I'm not quite sure. He was just like standing there auto attacking the creeps of tower when he could have been helping her, I think. I mean, Elise definitely shouldn't have been there in the first place, but, you know, don't just let her to die.
So Renekton did hit level 6 first, didn't have to burn his ult, but taking about half to 3/4 of Nasus's health. Even with those ganks, he's such a strong lane bully that this is going to be, well, how these fights go.
Also, Fizz having some trouble in mid. Oh my god, I'm totally blank today. The other Yordle, Ziggs.
Ziggs, yeah.
It's been a while since I played the game. I feel like I've forgotten some names. Did get level 7 before he did. And Ziggs' poke is just so good, I think. Also up in top.
And especially versus a melee laner who doesn't have early game strength anymore. It's just going to be a very one-sided matchup. And they were all upset with me for saying that Fizz is a little bit weak at the moment. And well, here we're seeing that he's a relatively weak laner.
Yeah, he's a really weak laner. You just kind of have to like survive the laning phase, and if you can do that, you might be able to get a kill out of it. But it's so risky. It's so risky.
Now, I would like to point out Ziggs has still not purchased anything yet, and is only about 10 to 15, well, 15 at the moment, CS up. I'm surprised that's not more, seeing as he's bullying out a melee laner and has never left lane. I don't know if that... Yeah, I think he's just been missing some last hits. And so that's something that he should definitely work on. Yeah, looking at his last hitting skills here, he's missing a lot. There's no reason for him to.
Also, I am loving the wards on the map right now. Especially from blue team, we see a lot of wards from blue team, but also both purple and blue team have a pink down around Dragon, which is great. And kind of rare.
Especially this early. I mean, we're only 9 minutes into the game. Wukong is level 6 going in bot lane. Hook goes down from Thresh.
Trying to get a kill down into Elise, but Elise will repel away, and Thresh probably die from this. Elise might as well, and yeah, the Wukong is able to get her. That was a really good counter gank from Wukong. I really just think what happened was that purple team just stayed bot way too long. You have to be really careful with that.
I would have liked to see them going for maybe a dragon instead. They had 3 people bot lane, and Ziggs was alive mid, so would be able to cut off any sort of attempts to collapse. That...
Also, for some reason, I think Vayne canceled her auto attack there. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was just a very weird decision on two fronts. First of all, why are you staying versus a level 6 Morgana and a level 7 Lucian when you know your tower is about to fall? And second one being, I believe you're right, I think she canceled out her auto attack, which would have at least evened it out 1-for-1.
Yeah, I mean, she really should have expected that. Even if she just did want to kill the Morgana and sacrifice herself, that would have been fine. But if you're expecting it, then I don't see why you would miss the auto.
Someone's mentioning Feral Flare on Wukong. I agree. Feral Flare is a relatively poor item on Wukong because he scales with AD, not attack speed. Like, the bulk of your damage on Wukong is your skill combo, not your auto attacks.
Here we're seeing a Elise gank coming down onto Fizz, but Fizz will be able to get away. Yep. And right now, like we were saying, you see Vayne incredibly behind, um, because she's so team reliant, and against Lucian, she is going to lose in lane.
All right, so Elise counter ganking top. Well, not counter ganking. I keep saying that, and all I mean is ganking. She's headed up top lane. Stun not able to connect onto Renekton, and they just go their separate ways. I still like her offensive early ganking playstyle because Elise does fall off come mid to late game. She's being collapsed on though by Wukong. Renekton shows up. They have a much better 2v2 on blue team, and so that's going to be a very dead Elise when she comes back down. And I would expect, yeah, Susan's going to fall right after.
We're seeing
Flawless
right now
counter gank.
We're seeing, yeah, much better counter ganks from this Wukong now that he is level 6. But I do agree the Elise ganks early have been incredible. And also to point out that Elise has ganked more than this Wukong, and she's still about equal in farm with him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you are, as a jungler, just going to farm until 6, basically, try to get your farm advantage that way. You know what I mean? Like, if you see the other jungler ganking more, and if you're just farming, at least get an advantage on them and farm.
Mm-hmm.
And Fizz is so incredibly low here. We'll be able to get the kill with the flash. However, Wukong could kill him? No, doesn't.
Those mines last way too long on Ziggs. They need to change that. If they're
I
going to nerf
agree,
something
yeah.
on it, make them last like 5 seconds.
It's such a good zoning tool, I think.
There's no reason it should last longer than a Lux Singularity, which lasts 5 seconds. And it accomplishes the same thing. It's a damage zoning skill. I really like the playstyle of blue team in this bot lane, where they're being all up in the face, just constantly shoving and providing a distraction on the map to take pressure off of their other lanes. Ooh, nice hook.
Yeah, nice hook from the Thresh, but they will be able to get the... I think they will be able to get the Elise here. But both of the blue team bot lane will
Wukong
be
is
going
counter
down here.
ganking. I don't think he wants that. Yeah, he just walks
A
away.
little too late, yeah. But no, I definitely agree with you here. And they've taken the second turret. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, I think the issue with a lot of bot lanes is that they end up pushing and getting a tower early, and then they're like, oh, well, what do we do now? And they roam mid and just kind of like waste everyone's time. You know what I mean? Like they take mid's farm, they don't get mid tower. So if you are going to go for an early push bot lane, have their jungle warded and just keep putting pressure. Just keep putting pressure.
Yeah, completely agree. They have some really good wards to set that up. If they didn't, then I would not agree. But they have a ward on blue buff, they have a ward down by dragon, they have a ward in river, and they, I believe, also had one in the Tribush bot. There's no way they're going to be collapsed on that they would not have full vision of it coming. They also have good mobility between the Lucian dash, the Morgana Black Shield to stop any form of CC. It's very unlikely that they would get caught out.
And right there, Lucian and Morgana didn't have any mana, so they couldn't really fight the Elise and Thresh as well as they could have. But they still, both Lucian and Morgana just kept kiting the Elise, which I thought was great. Like, they didn't just straight up fight her. Lucian was moving, attacking. And it looks like both purple and blue team are trying to collapse onto Dragon here. Thresh getting incredibly low, but so is Fizz. Fizz just walking into the Elise for some reason. Not quite sure why he did that. But it does look like purple team trying to disengage, and Vayne just getting snared. This is my main issue with Vayne, is that she has to be in close combat.
Mm-hmm.
And you really need those mechanics in order to accomplish that.
And we're just not seeing that from this Vayne, where it's not that she's playing really badly, it's that she's just not excelling at dodging skill shots, positioning, damage trading, auto attack resets. That's a huge thing on Vayne. Being able to immediately cancel your auto attack animations with tumbles to reposition, follow up with another auto attack. Cancel that out with a condemn. I mean, there's just so much cancellation and just precision timing that goes into playing Vayne well, and we're just not seeing that here.
I've seen people who that they main AD carry, they main Vayne, and they're incredibly good Vaynes, and they can do that with her. Um, and that's totally fine. And then when they try and play other AD carries where those kind of skills aren't as necessary, they kind of don't do as well.
Hmm.
But it's definitely a skill you need to have if you're going to play someone like Vayne.
So I believe he mentioned this in chat earlier, and I'm actually okay with the build. This Lucian anyways, prefers to go for Bloodthirster and then immediately into a Ghost Blade. I'm fine with that, because it's a good mix of attack speed, move speed, and armor penetration to give him that really strong mid-game spike instead of trying to slap and finish the entire Trinity Force. And then it opens him up for like finishing up a completed Last Whisper, and then anything else he would like for late game. It's not the absolute ideal situation, in all situations, but it's not a bad build.
Purple team started to go top lane. Vayne and Elise both backing off because of blue team pushing into mid. But it looks like Elise is just kind of dancing back and forth. She's not quite sure where she wants to go. Redexing getting incredibly low, but Vayne not being able to do the damage to finish them off. Nasa's also getting low. Vayne getting caught at a position here. She's just not... Well, she used her heal in order to kill Renekton there. And it looks like she will be trying to get a kill onto Wukong here, but I'm not quite sure how well she's going to be able to do that. No, and the stealth jump will get her.
I really do wish, though, that they would have focused the same targets.
Yeah. It was very sloppy.
Yeah, it worked out in the end, but there was no reason for Renekton to die there when they could have immediately popped Vayne.
Also, the Fizz and the Lucian attacking Elise there was a little sloppy as well.
Hmm.
The Elise using her repels so well this game. Um, Nasus very low. Wukong will be able to get away here. Such low health. Renekton just 2v1ing around here. Blue team is so low. See, this is where Vayne needs to be able to pick people off, and I haven't seen her do that. This is where Vayne needs to go all in.
Yeah, just so many low health targets, and oh, that thresh hook was so very close, not able to quite connect, and they're just going to go their own ways. Another binding connecting.
See, Vayne just seems so disconnected to me. Like, I'm not quite sure where she's, like, looking or what she's paying attention to.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. At this point, Lucian is 8-1-3 with a 50 or 60 CS advantage over Vayne. That's not something they can allow to happen, and combine that with the fact that Wukong is 5-0-5, unfortunately this game is mostly over. That being said, Purple Team is a late game team. So if I were them, I would be trying to ward up your jungle, communicate efficiently in terms of either collapsing on lone targets or simply getting the farm onto the right players. Why are you ulting
Yeah,
blue?
blue team. Oh, I didn't even realize that. Blue team has had incredible ward coverage though, and I'd like to applaud Morgana for that.
Mm-hmm.
While purple team has been falling a little behind, just on vision in the map in general. Yeah, as a top lane, like I said, it's okay to be, have a CS deficit. But as an AD carry, any kind of CS deficit is totally unacceptable. And blue team is converging onto the Elise here, getting an ultimate onto Vayne. Thresh also getting into the Morgana ultimate will be flashing away, and Ziggs just walking away with incredibly low health.
And there we see that Ghost Blade from Lucian. Oh, I don't like the Stinger though. Ugh.
Yeah, that's a little strange.
It's a somewhat famous build on the forums. It's not good. it starts out
Okay.
good, and then he's like, okay, and then as a third item, I always rush a oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. It builds out a stinger and it has tenacity.
Blue team here is so low. Hopefully this is the no. I was going to say this is the cleanup Vayne needs, and
And again, it boils
wasn't
down to
able
the
to get
Vayne's
it.
positioning.
Yeah. Also, last time when she had a flash out of the Wukong ult, I have no idea why she was so close to the Wukong in the first place.
Someone in chat is asking if Doran's Blade is good on Elise. And yes, it's a fantastic starting item on Elise because it makes your early ganks that much more potent, and she doesn't really take any damage in her initial clear if she's using her spiderlings properly. I know it used to be the standard start on her. I think people have moved back towards standard jungling items on her. So blue team just completely spread out at the moment. They're not really going to be setting anything up. Unfortunately, it's too early in the game and they're too far behind for purple team to even try a desperation Baron. The mere fact that they're sort of dancing around it is weird to me. They need to be focusing on picking up farm and reducing their disadvantage. At this point, they're
Yeah.
14,000 gold deficit by 22 minutes. You cannot let that happen.
No, definitely not. Even as a late game team. But they are trying to get this tower, and even then, it's still only 3 people trying to get this one tower. I mean, the tower was low, but blue team is just way too good
Yeah,
at following up.
blue team can just end the game right now. I want to see them
Yeah.
taking away this inhib and them probably sieging up top because Nasus is going back to base. So take the inhib and then immediately cycle top lane, take the inner turret, and then siege the not Nexus turret, the inhib turret top. Because you don't have time to actually end the game, but they're already on this turret, so why not head up there? They are going to take down Nasus very quickly, and that should be an inhibitor turret top as well.
They could just take the two middle turrets. Not quite sure what Fizz and Wukong are. Looks like they are getting into the fight, and they will be taking down Thresh and Elise. Yeah,
So
that's
we've already commented on Fizz, quote-unquote, wasting his skills, trying to use them on farm or repositioning, and putting himself in a bad place. But I haven't commented so far on him missing all of his ultimates. Like, I don't think I've seen him hit a single shark yet.
No, I don't think I have either. Almost dying to the bombs there.
So at this point, they have the double inhib.
Very, very low.
Lucian a little bit ballsy. Well, he cycled that combo well. He could have repositioned during the combo and continued running away.
Yeah, and Nasus still died in that trade as well, so I don't know. Purple team could have played that a lot better.
Definitely.
To me, it doesn't really seem like Vayne is even doing the damage. I don't know if that's just because she's so behind.
I think it's that she's not getting enough consistent attacks onto the same target. If you're not proccing silver bolts, there goes a good chunk of your damage.
Yeah, that's true.
So purple team, oh no, they're delaying it again. Fizz and Morgana were essentially alone. They had 2 people in front, 2 people behind, and then they just gave them enough time for Renekton to regroup.
Yeah, I think purple team is just very afraid here, and Nasus will be going down as well. It's so surprising to me that Nasus has been going down pretty much every fight because he's supposed to be the tankiest person on their team.
Yeah, that being said though, he only has Iceborne Gauntlet and Ninja Tabi and a Kindle Gem. So it's not as though he has any real items completed, and he's playing as though he's a highly Q-stacked Nasus, which he isn't. Wukong should be able to get this clean up. His E is about to come up. E auto attack.
That was a good flash and a condemn from Vayne. I mean, it was a good try. I think she also healed her teammates.
Yeah, And this should be the end of the game here. Just
Yeah.
take the Nexus. So yes, there were some sharks landed, but for the most part, they were a little bit mediocre. And Zephyr, that's what I was trying to remember earlier.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's
A
like
Zephyr's
third
not a
item
bad
Zephyr
item.
Rush.
Oh god, yeah. That's pretty bad. You should never rush Zephyr. That should be like your very last item.
Okay, so do you have any final comments on build playstyle? I think most of it just boiled down to communication, counter picking, and champion knowledge, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it was great to see the Zonias on Morgana. I don't think I saw her use it though. The Zonias. Um, she might have. I have no idea. There's also a Zonias on Fizz, which I don't think he used either. And on
Interesting.
Ziggs. I don't think I saw a single Zonias this game. I think no, I think I might have seen Ziggs use his. Huh. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not seeing like huge issues in itemization. It's more just playstyle communication and knowledge of how to play the champion to a high level of success.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Especially with Nasus and Vayne. We talked about Vayne. Honestly, the player, you didn't do badly. It's just, it's Vayne.
Yeah.
And if your mechanics aren't perfect, then your Vayne is going to look very mediocre. And it's very hard to have perfect mechanics. Also, Nasus, I felt like Nasus had so many opportunities to do well there. Like, he got so many ganks from Elise, and it just didn't work out his way. And that's typically how Nasus is. You have to be so careful.
Yep. In the meantime, Brian, are you able to do